And yet they get $20 billion, our big oil companies, in subsidies. That might be of concern. If your main concern with solar and wind subsidies, you might want to start with our oil companies. But that's just one. They also get subsidized in that between 1/3 and 2/3 of the entire budget of the Pentagon is directed toward policing and securing their private, for-profit commodity. They have literally 1/3 to 2/3 of the Pentagon's budget dedicated to making sure that they get their product back and forth from the Middle East. That's the central organizing principle of our national defense. Imagine how much gas would cost if they had to pay for those services. What, like $1 gazillion a gallon? But they don't. They get it for free. That's called a subsidy. And they're not done. They also get to pollute for free. You can't pollute for free. If you walk out here right now and litter on the ground, you'll get a fine. But if you get a $25 fine for littering today, and you pay it, you will have paid $25 more than all of our oil companies and all of our coal companies have ever paid in 150 years since the Industrial Revolution for dumping megatons of carbon into the atmosphere. The most dangerous pollution, according to our scientists, in the world, baking our planet, they've been dumping it into the atmosphere by the megaton for 150 years. They've never paid a penny. And if you pay $25 for littering, you pay $25 more than they ever have. That's called a subsidy. And coal gets another subsidy because we built a whole national grid for them. And, we built, we have two. Fox will beat me up if I say anything wrong. We have 3 grids in America: East Coast, West Coast, and Texas. Don't ask me why. And they all were built for baseline power, coal, natural gas, some nuclear, but not for variable power, not solar. Sun comes up, sun goes down, variable power. Wind blows, wind stops blowing, variable power. You need a different kind of grid to support that. Well, we built them a grid, and now we have to improve the grid so it's fair to all energy sources. They say, well, you guys are asking for a subsidy. Well, those telephone poles with the power lines, they didn't grow out of the ground. The government built those. There's a subsidy for us, it's a subsidy for them. Okay? So your argument can't be you're concerned about subsidies, otherwise you would never get around to talking about us. You'd be talking about these fossil fuel guys, whatever. That can't be the argument. Then they say there's no net new jobs. You're just, you're taking jobs from the coal miners and you're giving jobs to the solar people. You're not creating any new jobs, you're just destroying jobs. Well, that's not exactly right. And I'll tell you why. To do so, I've got to give you a little analogy. Imagine that you had a big yard that you wanted to cut. Big yard. Last year, you hired a company to cut your lawn. The company was called Status Quo Co. And Status Quo Co said, for $100, we will cut your lawn. He said, fine, thank you. Here's $100. And Status Quo Co came, and they had one really, really big lawnmower. And one guy pushing it. Or one woman, it's fine. He knows he's still. One employee pushing one big, massive, polluting lawnmower. And they did a good job. But the next year, another company knocks on the door. And they say, hello, we are Future Co. For $100, we will cut your lawn. But we have 5 employees, and they use small, solar-powered, non-polluting lawnmowers. And you say, well, I'm going to give you a chance. And you take the same $100 that you gave to Status Quo Co., you give it to Future Co., and they cut your lawn. What just happened? That same $100, by moving it from a capital-intensive, low-labor company to a labor-intensive, clean capital company, just that switch created 5 jobs and cut pollution. Does that make sense to you? That's why we want to move from a fossil fuel economy to a clean economy. A clean economy has more workers and less pollution. It takes a lot more people to put up all those solar panels and maintain them, and put up the wind turbines and maintain them, and retrofit all these buildings, and grow all the bio crops in a smart way and all, than it does to just pull a black thing out of the ground and burn it. This strikes me as fairly obvious. No net new jobs, no old country. But the real thing that people don't like about this is because they think that somehow, I don't know where they got this idea, this is socialism. I hear them up there talking, and it sounds really good, and it seems even logical and appealing, but I'm not listening. Because this is hippie energy. Sneaking in, under the radar, introducing solar-powered socialism. Never. Never. This is the thing that drives me nuts. I mean, obviously, everybody knows when I was on the left side of Pluto politically. But you're 43 years old, so I got 2 kids, mortgage. I'm a Jack Kemp, up from poverty, Willie A. Jones' son guy. And I want to point out a couple of things with this hippie-powered socialist scheme that I get accused of promoting. First of all, notice something about what I'm saying. I'm not calling for more welfare. I'm calling for more work. Nothing wrong with welfare, sometimes people need it, but I'm not calling for more welfare. I'm calling for more work. I'm not calling for more entitlement programs. I'm calling for more enterprise. I'm not talking about redistributing anybody's wealth. I'm talking about busting up a state-protected monopoly so we can create some new wealth with some new entrepreneurs, new technology. This is going to disappoint some of my fans. I actually like free markets. I'm actually in favor of free markets. I like free markets so much, I'd like to see one. I'm trying to give new entrepreneurs a chance to get in there. And I'm also saying, shouldn't every community member have the right in our country to be an energy producer and not just be forced to be an energy consumer for the rest of their lives like utility companies? Why are they so sacred and so special that these energy companies and these utility companies get to dictate to us for the rest of our lives how much we're going to pay for energy, when we're going to pay for it, how many asthma inhalers we're going to have in our community as a result of it? What makes them God? Why can't we as neighbors put solar panels up on our rooftop, put a little wind turbine in the back, and sell that power onto the grid and compete with anybody else and work with our neighbors and power ourselves and be able to have a national smart grid where I can sell those clean energy electrons anywhere in the country where they're needed.